Committee will come to order. Chair, as always, wants to thank our Sergeant at Arms for the great work that they do. We're going to go ahead and get into our list. Each member who signed up will have up to 2 minutes to speak to the committee. The first member of the public to sign up is Cheek Tia. And if you will, raise your hand if you hear your name called so that the tech folks can find you and bring you up on the screen. Do we have Cheek Tia? All right, you're recognized for up to 2 minutes.
Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. How y'all doing? I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand. I was busy doing something. My name is Tia Cheek, and I live in Stanford, in Lee County, North Carolina. And the reason why I speak on this today is because, you know, gerrymandering has been like a big problem in our society right now when it comes to like voting and issues and stuff. And it's so important for us to know that it's really best to make our maps for people that has a right to vote, because gerrymandering affects everybody, no matter what race, color, party affiliation, or whatever. So if we make better maps for all of us, then it will work out for the best, and it will help solve our issues. And it's really best for us to draw the maps in the right way instead of the wrong way, because democracy is an American way of voting, right? And it's really best for us to understand that, you know, everybody has a right to vote, and the founding fathers created democracy so we can vote and we can have our voices heard when it comes to our issues. And our issues just ain't gonna go away with just, you know, not voting. We have to vote and have a voice. So if you can redraw the maps the right way, then all of us will have a voice, and democracy would have, you know, a better place in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Roberta Waddell, please raise your hand so we can bring you up on the screen.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Waddell. I live in rural Cumberland County. I am a former Cumberland County Democratic Party chair, but I am speaking for myself. Regarding congressional redistricting, counties should not be split unless absolutely necessary. When I was county party chair from 2006 to 2009, Cumberland County was divided into 3 districts. Being in 3 districts is confusing for officials, candidates, and particularly voters. Voters did not know about the divisions, didn't know who their representatives were. This was discouraging to people who wanted to vote but had trouble figuring out who would be on their ballot. Regarding the congressional maps that have been drafted, I prefer map CSK-5 or CST-6. The districts are compact. Cumberland County is whole. There is a Sand Hills Center. The districts appear balanced and several are competitive. Regarding the North Carolina House and Senate, it looks like to me it's back to cracking and packing voters. Neither the House or the Senate map represents my idea of a fair map. Particularly regarding North Carolina Senate 21, as drawn in SST-4, it encompasses Cumberland and Moore County. It's a ridiculous district. Its commonality may be that it is rural, but it will be impossible for a senator to properly represent it. The district is over 75 miles from one end to the other, and the connection between the two is mostly on 2-lane roads. Neither Beaver Dam in Cumberland County nor the High Falls community in Moore County will ever see their senator. Senate District 22 packs the minority community. That's the other district in Cumberland County. These districts should be redrawn. Thank you.
Retrina Campbell, please raise your hand. She's with Common Cause NC.
Hello?
You're recognized for 2 minutes.
All right, hello, my name is Retrina Campbell. I am with Common Cause NC, and I'm also a resident of Charlotte, and I have been for 19 years since attending Johnson C. Smith University. We have asked the committee to keep communities of interest together, ask for transparency in the map drawing process, and having additional public hearings throughout the state after the maps are drawn. Unfortunately, this process still continues to not be the most transparent and confusing. The legislator had the option of 2 county groupings for the Senate map. Option 2 would have kept Hertford, Bertie, and Martin counties together, creating a district with substantial Black population. Instead, the committee went with option 1, which separates these counties and the Black population. The current proposed Senate map can result in the loss of 2 of the 3 Black senators for the northeastern part of the state. Congressional map CMT9, CBK3, CST2, and CBA2 could cause it not to be any Black representation or any other minority representation in a state that has 40% minority population that continues to grow and has grown according to the recent census. The map drawing process is live streamed, but you can't always hear or see who's drawing the maps. Then these 2-day public hearings only allow 210 North Carolinians to participate and comment for a state that has a population of over 10 million people. The congressional and Senate map came out last Tuesday, and the House map came out last Friday, and then the public hearings on today, well, yesterday and today, just followed quickly after, not giving North Carolinians the opportunity to view or analyze 7 maps with what would be for their community and how it could affect their community. And with that map, maps can still continue to come out even during these public hearings. The state Senate map SST4 for one was finished on October 14th, but was not put on the website for the public until a week later. This process has caused confusion and is leading to misrepresentation for the citizens of North Carolina and is compromising the power to vote for representation who will fight for our issues throughout the state. Thank you.
Tessa Pendley. Do we have Tessa Pendley?
I'm here.
You're recognized for 2 minutes.
My name is Tessa Pendley. I live in Greensboro, and I'm in my 8th year as an educator with Guilford County. As someone who is committed to both defending and transforming North Carolina's public schools, I am acutely aware of the impact that gerrymandered districts have on my profession. Approximately 60% of the funding for our state's public schools comes from the General Assembly. And when decisions about this funding are made by individuals who, counter to the will of the majority of North Carolinians, actively seek to undermine, under-resource, and ultimately privatize this public good, we all lose. Furthermore, the boldness with which certain legislators have repeatedly and shamelessly manipulated our maps in order to grab and maintain power at the expense of my students and our communities is a national embarrassment. Rather than focusing on fully funding our public schools so that we can meet our constitutional obligation to the future of our state, leadership in the General Assembly seems hell-bent on denying democracy, opting to literally choose voters rather than allowing the people of our state to have an actual voice in a free and fair election. I say all of this not because I anticipate that it will really make any of you that are guilty of these transgressions reconsider your impact on our democracy, but rather to make it clear that we see you. We see you only offering 2 virtual sessions for public comment in a state of 11 million people. We recognize the violence of your intention. We live with the impact of your malicious disregard for our collective dignity, and we suffer because of your casual cruelty. But let the record show we refuse to do so silently.
Brenda Fairfax.
Greetings. I'm Brenda Fairfax, and I live here in Pitt County. It's no doubt that our democracy is in chains. We'd like to be able to select our representative instead of our representative selecting us. A prime example, G.K. Butterfield's area spanned from Durham to Elizabeth City. Now, his house has been moved out of his district. Pitt County has been split into 2 districts. This isn't fair. And one of the districts spans out to the Outer Banks. We don't have anything in common with the Outer Banks. The way these maps are drawn, you have totally eliminated someone that looks like me and other minorities from voting. This is not fair. The Republicans have drawn these maps to make sure that minorities are not being heard. And one more thing, we know about all people who plan to vote, who plan to run for office, and they buy these 1 or little 2-bedroom homes to establish residency in these states just to say that we've lived there for a year before the election. This is not fair. We need to draw maps, since North Carolina is a 50-50 state, and make sure that all residents are represented, including me, an African-American lady, as well as other minorities.
Elizabeth Traxler. Elizabeth Traxler. Chair is informed that Ms. Traxler is not on the Zoom meeting. Kathleen Barnes from the Transylvania NAACP. Ms. Barnes, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks to the committee for opening a very limited virtual hearing on this important subject. My name is Kathleen Barnes. I live in Brevard and I represent the Transylvania NAACP. I am still puzzled on the purpose of this so-called, quote, public comment, since we are still without any real idea of what we're commenting on. As far as I can tell, there are at least 5 proposed maps for congressional districts, and living in the western part of the state in what was the old 11th district and may or may not be the new 14th district, I'm puzzled. There is a weird little worm going into Watauga County in version CS2, CMT9, and CBK3. Why? This is far from congruent or compact. Of course, I don't have access to all the political and racial demographics, but those who do have access estimate that 11 of the 14 congressional seats will go to Republicans. That seems a little odd, well, really odd, considering that the political divide in North Carolina is almost even. The courts have strongly weighed in on past gerrymandering efforts, and it appears we are about to embark on the entire legal exercise once more. Why? As we get closer and closer to filing deadlines, limiting the time for public comment and legal action, it's becoming clear that those in power will maintain their grip on that power despite the best interests of their constituents. We know both parties in North Carolina have historically engaged in political and racial gerrymandering. We now live in a state of hyper-partisanship. We have wasted taxpayer money defending indefensible gerrymandering. Why not just do it right for once and for all? Thank you.
Claudia Coons. You're recognized for 2 minutes. Claudia Coons. Ms. Coons, can you hear us? Chair is informed that Ms. Coons is on the phone with the help desk, and so Ms. Coons will come back to you. Jake Geller-Goad.
Hi, good evening.
You're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm speaking as a Winston-Salemite, and I'm speaking against any map that would split our city apart. Specifically, I'm speaking against the proposed map that would put half of Winston-Salem together with half of Rocky Mount out east. These are two fine cities, but putting half of two cities together doesn't make sense for a population balance reason, nor does putting two cities together from different sides of the state make sense in terms of creating communities of interest, especially when the other half of Winston-Salem would be put in a district in the mountains, which includes the western border of the state with Tennessee. It's unreasonable to claim Winston as a part of the Tennessee border and as a part of the eastern section of the state. And I do wish, given that this proposal to split Winston-Salem is being considered in at least one of the maps, that there had been a hearing within driving distance of my city. The closest one I could find was over 80 miles away, which is why I'm having to speak virtually tonight, and I feel lucky that my schedule worked out for one of these virtual hearings. Generally speaking, I do want to say whatever criteria was used, these maps at the congressional and state level appear that they will have the effect of unfairly diminishing the power of voters of color. And I don't think that's okay according to the Voting Rights Act, and I don't think that's okay morally either. And that's really what I wanted to come here and say this evening and have on the record. Thank you.
Yoshi Newman. Chair is informed that we don't have Yoshi Newman. Charles York.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Charles York. I am from High Point in Guilford County. Thank you for holding this hearing and taking public comments. I wanted to share my concerns about 3 of the members' submitted maps that will divide the Piedmont Triad into 3 different districts, specifically CBK2, CMT9, and CST2. These 3 maps all draw a district in northwestern North Carolina that snakes down into Guilford County to pick up population and clearly crack Democratic voters. In all of these maps, Virginia Fox's little sliver of Watauga County, just for one voting precinct, has been added to a district spanning from Ashe all the way into Guilford. I mean, this clear political plot to protect Fox and remove Representative Manning's Triad district is at the expense of people like me in the Triad and our proper representation in the U.S. House. Now, I understand that incumbent protection is a legitimate interest, but it should not trump preserving communities of interest, such as the Triad. No one in my community should be represented by someone that lives in Watauga County. You know, it's a lovely place, but we have different cultural, social, and economic interests than the beautiful mountain communities that Representative Fox already represents. I just want to see someone that represents me, that lives in the Triad. I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican, just someone that lives at the same elevation as me, uses the same airport, that understands furniture market. You know, there's no reason to chop up the Triad. Please try and keep my community, the Triad, together. Thank you.
Alirio Estevez with the Chatham Caucus.
Okay, hello.
You're recognized for 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Alirio Estevez, a resident of Chatham County, a proud immigrant, and a proud American. I've come to you to express my strong disappointment with the redistricting plan represented before us. I was born in a developing country where democracy had been co-opted by corrupt officials who manipulated elections to keep themselves in power and cynically presented themselves to the world as true defenders of democracy. I'm afraid I'm seeing something quite similar now. When I came to this beautiful country, I felt excited because the United States was the cradle of modern democracy, was a beacon on the hill, and a role model for the entire globe. However, today our country and our state don't look like that way anymore, since a group of leaders of a particular party wants to perpetuate themselves in power without any shame, without any sense of morality. This process will reduce and ultimately may lead to silencing opposing views, to the silencing of minorities like my Latino community, like the community of my African American sisters and brothers, among others. It truly upsets me to see the immoral actions of many in the General Assembly. I know that most likely the words, feelings, and statements expressed yesterday and today opposing this maneuver will not sway the hearts and minds of those in charge of this mockery. It is painful and tragic to see how some prefer to lead our country and state to darkness than to relinquish power. Our country deserves better. Our state deserves better. We deserve better. Good night.
Paige Anderholm from the Campus Vote Project. Paige Anderholm, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Paige Anderholm. I am a graduate of Appalachian State University, and I have called Watauga County home for 8 years. I'm also a redistricting fellow with Campus Vote Project. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak directly to the committee, as I have emailed my state representatives and my questions and concerns have gone unaddressed. There are 3 points I want to make tonight. The first point is rather fundamental. The maps proposed on the NCGA website provide little insight on how these districts will cut communities at street level. But this is not the first time this process has been constructed to be inaccessible to the general public. Working to exclude public input at any and all parts of redistricting is inherently anti-democratic, and the continued exclusions have been noted by constituents across the state. My second point is that in a state that has had a near 50-50 party split in presidential elections over the last 20 years, one would expect that there would to be a near even divide in districts that are safe or likely for both parties. However, that assumes the redistricting process is truly representative of the populace. I support Senator Clark's map, CBK4 and CBK5, that divide the districts evenly in an effort to make fairness a reality. Thirdly, I'm concerned about the splitting of various communities of interest. As a resident of Watauga County, I'm concerned about the 3 maps submitted by the Senate Redistricting Committee, CMT9, CBK3, and CST2, that would split Watauga County. Similarly, Representative Hall's map, CBK11, splits the community of Boone, and that is unacceptable. And as a redistricting fellow with Campus Vote Project, I'm here to ask that you bring together college campuses in an effort to ensure that the almost 250,000 students enrolled in the UNC system have full representation as they deserve and as they directly contribute to a thriving North Carolina. I thank you for listening to me this evening, and I hope at the end of this process that you, as the representatives of North Carolinians, will be able to honestly say these maps were drawn with communities in mind and not your political careers. Thank you.
Ann Tarek,
Yes.
you're recognized for up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Ann Torreira. I'm a registered voter, and I live in Southern Pines in Moore County. I'm trying to follow this legislative map drawing. I'm sure the process is complicated and hard, but it's so important that it's done fairly and right. I've looked at the map HBK11 for the NC House districts, and this won't work in Moore County, as Moore County is divided up into three ways. And I've read the criteria published by the Joint Commission, and it says that counties should not be divided if at all possible. So I want to see Moore County whole. I've seen several proposed U.S. congressional maps. The one that I've seen that seemed best for Moore County are CST6, CBK5, or CBK4. I like the fact that the counties near Moore County are included in the district. Personally, when we shop or go to the theater, we might drive to Fayetteville, which is in Cumberland County. I've been to Sandhills Community College. They have a branch in Hope County. Now, these counties are a short drive from Moore County, so I'd like to see the district compact. Some of the proposed maps in our district run all the way to Mecklenburg County. That's similar to what it is now, and it's very awkward. It doesn't represent us truly. If the district is compact, hopefully we will know our legislators, and they will be responsive to our needs and requests. Thanks for the opportunity to speak virtually today. I live in a retirement community with people getting COVID still, driving a long way and meeting in person, sitting close to other people is still worrisome to me. So thank you for the opportunity. I do hope the legislative maps will be drawn fairly. I really do not want to see expensive lawsuits as we've had in the past. I want to be proud of the redistricting in North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Amy Spears, AOTL. Chair is informed that Amy Spears is not on the call. George McGinn. George McGinn, you're recognized for up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is George McGinn. My wife and I have been residents of Durham City since 1996. Thank you for this opportunity to comment on the redistricting maps. My comments are about U.S. House of Representatives map CBK4. I didn't realize there were so many maps out there. We have always registered to vote as unaffiliated, looking to vote at all levels for the candidate we think will represent us best. I like the clustering of counties into compact areas, which should have many common needs. This should also allow our U.S. House members to focus on the needs of that area and be accountable to the people who reside in that area. Many of our services are supplied at the town, county, or city level, safety, libraries, I could go on. So I feel an extension of that is to have each county having a clear voice in Congress. This translates, in my mind, into having as few counties as possible represented by multiple congressional members. Some splitting is inevitable, but it should be kept to a minimum. So for CBK4, this leads me to just one suggestion, and it relates to District 13. This district includes 2 counties, but it also splits or has parts of 4 counties. It is the only district within that map that fragments so many counties. Perhaps there's some way to make this district more compact at the county level by some minor adjustments. And I would agree with the comments that Roberta Waddle made about compact and county representation at a heart to having good maps. Thank you for your time.
Beth Bronson. Ms. Bronson, you're recognized for up to 2 minutes.
Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Beth Bronson. I'm a lifelong North Carolinian and more recently a political observer who, like many of the commenters before, have been awaiting this process of redrawing the maps. They've previously been determined unconstitutional, and I would like to point out in general that trying to find information on a state and local level is never easy to find, regardless of how transparent the intention is. Given the census delays, I would recommend that these maps stop being considered because the full information is not out. With more, just, more population data coming out in December, the actual data coming out projected for December 2021, I think that they're using evaluation estimates and not actual, and so are not going to be representative of these redrawn maps. The cracking of large counties in an effort to maintain power while simultaneously losing it up to polls is becoming very apparent. Just locating all of these different maps and trying to understand based out where I am from versus where some of these commenters are from, it's an extremely long process that should involve the public, and it obviously has not, despite best intended efforts. The House map that I was able to find was most recently released on October 22nd. That's the HBK 11. CBK 3 is the other map that was released on October 18th. Both of those maps seem to be the prevailing maps for both standing committees. And holding public hearings before the data of redistricting was even available in September, for the sake of transparency, I would not consider a genuine effort. I would agree that self-selection does contribute to awkward district lines. However, this is not a reason for the committee to avoid making a concerted effort to balance that out. I think a larger conversation needs to be had with that. And, you know, while I do not have as well-prepared comments as some of these previous speakers, I think it is important to realize that regular citizens are watching, and regular citizens do have a voice and deserve to have a voice.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, so the bipartisan committee can be brought.
Sohini Sengupta. Chair's informed that Sohini Sengupta is not on the call. Valerie Restrepo. Chair is informed that Valerie Restrepo is not on the call. Adams D.D. Chair is informed that Adams D.D. is not on the call. Catherine Ann Walsh. Ms. Walsh, you're recognized for a period of up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. I am a resident of Asheville, Buncombe County here in North Carolina. I'm asking that district maps be drawn to ensure that voters can choose their leaders fairly. Politicians should not be able to cherry pick their voters to get the election outcomes they desire. North Carolina legislators have pledged to not use race or partisan data to draw the maps. Yet several of the publicly released congressional maps, for example, split Charlotte, where the largest concentration of African American North Carolinians live, into 3 or 4 House districts. This dilutes the pool of citizens who have a community of interest from being in one district into 3 or 4 districts. The U.S. Constitution guarantees equal protection under the law. If you weaken voters' power based on race, you may again, as was done a decade ago, be violating the U.S. Constitution's guarantee. The districts need to comprise a plurality of voters with similar sets of interests and concerns so that they can elect their preferred candidates and be represented fairly. I am asking that you please consider that in drawing these maps. Thank you.
Chair has the name Forza Horizon listed on here, and Chair's informed by the IT folks they believe that's not a real person who has signed up. But is anyone named Forza Horizon on the call? Chair's informed that they are not here. Victoria Coble. Ms. Coble, you're recognized for up to 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the redistricting committees this evening. My name is Victoria Coble. I am a mother of 2 young children, a graduate student at UNCG, and a Guilford County resident. I am speaking to you tonight about the impact the proposed maps have on my home in Greensboro. I have reviewed all the proposed maps by the House and Senate redistricting committees, and I must ask, where exactly is Greensboro on these maps? Our city and our county, according to these renderings, is unrecognizable. Greensboro is the 3rd largest city in the state, as you all know. It's a purple county, and some of these proposed maps, as it stands, have been quite obviously and deliberately cut into sections to subvert the will of the people that live here and create unfair partisan advantage that disenfranchises the voters in this area. Specifically, maps CMT9, CS2, CBK3, SST4, HBK11 are so grossly gerrymandered that it has incensed me, a very busy mother of 2 children under 4, to take time away from my graduate studies and my household demands to address you this evening. What these maps are trying to do is circumvent my voting power and those that may also vote against the GOP. It's blatant, it's deliberate, it's undemocratic, and it's unethical. And I am not the only one who finds these proposed maps by the NC GOP preposterous. The Princeton Gerrymandering Project has given those maps a grade F and states that it provides a significant partisan and Republican advantage. And my question to you all this evening is, why should NC residents have to settle for anything less than a grade A rating of partisan fairness? Several maps have been drawn by other members who have been given A ratings. So why would those maps not be chosen? And why would we willingly accept a grade A map when grade A maps are readily available? What you're trying to sell us today is that our current map that was mandated by the North Carolina court with an 8-5 Republican advantage is so unfair that current districts need to be cut up yet again to provide a 10-4 or 11-3 advantage to Republicans to somehow make it more fair? You all know that this is wrong. You were told directly by the North Carolina courts just 2 years ago, and yet here we are again in 2021.
Thank you.
I implore you to turn away from this temptation of cheating and to give us a grade A map that we all deserve.
Thank you for your comments. Pam Jones. Chair is informed that Pam Jones is not with us on the call. Bridget Torrent. Ms. Torrent, you're recognized for a period of up to 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Bridget Tarrant, and I'm in New Hanover County. Thank you for holding these virtual hearings so I'm able to attend. I know we're supposed to be talking about legislative maps tonight, just talking about the Senate map that has been drawn, which has split up Wilmington and New Hanover County. And I realize it's based on population, but it would be nice if you took District 6 and included the airport, Wilmington Airport, with the main part of Wilmington, and then District 7 would be divided north of the Wilmington bypass. This seems to make sense when you look at the maps. And then for the House map, HBK 11, where New Hanover County is split into 3 districts. This gets very confusing for people who live in New Hanover County. So one of the suggestions that seems to make more sense is that if you took District 21, 22, and changed them so that one of the districts, possibly District 21, would keep the coastal towns all together, and then District 22 would include the remainder of Wilmington that's not included in District 19. So hopefully you got all that. And then since I was unable to come to the virtual hearing last night when you were talking about congressional maps because I work and I worked late and was unable to get on the call, I was asking for the congressional maps that you include the 7 counties that our regional medical center provides services to. So the way you have the different maps split up does not really make any sense. The ones that are closest to, including the 7 counties that New Hanover Regional Medical Center / covers, are CBK 4 and CBK 5. These counties are New Hanover County, Pender, Brunswick, Columbus, Onslow, Duplin, and Bladen. And I realize Onslow County is too many people to include the whole county, but CBK 4 and CBK 5 include a large portion of Onslow County. And it just makes sense to keep all those counties together since they are served by the same medical center. Okay, thank you.
Christopher Lakin. Chair is informed that Christopher Lakin is not on the call. Stephanie Hare, NC Democrats.
Hello, I'm here.
You're recognized for 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hare, and I was born in North Carolina and live currently in Chatham County. I'm asking you to please keep Chatham County whole as proposed, but do not combine Randolph County's Providence precinct with us. Apparently, this proposed new combination is unbalanced in relation to the rest of the state. Chatham is growing very quickly, and this proposal to include Randolph County's Providence precinct makes that new district too large. This proposal dilutes the impact of the Chatham County voter and smacks of partisan gerrymandering. History is repeating itself here. This body is not operating in good faith, but rather is focused on their own partisan power. It is shameful, and it's going to result in more lawsuits, more taxpayer money blown down the drain because of your legislative irresponsibility. It is shameful that you do not represent your state fairly. Thank you for your time.
Harold Eustache with the Forsyth County Republican Party.
Thank you. My name is Harold Eustache, living in Forsyth County in Winston-Salem. I am president of the trial lawyers in Winston-Salem and vice chair of the Forsyth County Republican Party. I think one of the things that we recognize here in Forsyth County is the task that you guys have as a committee to draw these maps. It's a gargantuan task. It's a tough task. So we thank you for doing that. What we've seen come out of the case law is that the courts have essentially asked our legislature to do three things: not take race into account, not take political parties into account, and to try to keep communities of interest and counties whole. And I think when we look at a lot of the maps that have been proposed, that's been attempted. You know, I've heard a lot about, well, North Carolina's a 50-50 state. That's not the way to really look at this. The way to look at this is North Carolina has 100 counties, and 80-ish of them are red counties. And so what's happened in North Carolina, a lot of what's happened in the United States, is that people are living next to people that they agree with in a political sense. And so this challenge that the North Carolina State Legislature has is to draw these maps when we have 80 counties that are potentially red and so on and so forth. So that's part of what's driving this. And when we look at the maps themselves, I mean, I think that they, you know, Representative Destin Hall and the whole committee has tried to do as good a job as possible under the circumstances. I mean, what we've had in North Carolina prior to 2010 was 100 years of Democrat rule in the North Carolina legislature, 100. Now, how did that happen? That happened because the Democratic Party gerrymandered the maps for a century. And in 2010, Republicans won on those very maps that Democrats wrote. And so, and of course, in the last 11 years, it's been litigation, you know, litigation after litigation, because fairness is only true when it seems that the Democratic Party is in power. But that's not the standard. The standard is that the party in power is able to draw these maps, and the state legislature via the North Carolina Constitution is given the authority to draw these maps. And I think given the provisions by the case law, they've done a fine job. So thank you to the committee for doing that.
Thank you, sir. All right, members, we're going to go back to Claudia Coons, who was having some technical difficulties earlier. Do we have Ms. Coons now? And if so, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, my name is Claudia Coons, and I've lived in Orange County for 30 years, and I'm very happy to say we like our county. It has, all of the county is in one district, and so I appreciate living here, no worms. But as a resident of the state, I appreciate the one person, one vote principle. North Carolina stands out as one of the 2 or 3 most gerrymandered states in the union. When the news media wants an example, they take an election where the Democrats won by a hair, but only ended up with 15 out of 13 seats. This is so egregious. We're the poster state for gerrymandering. And as a resident of the Triangle, I'd like to comment on the congressional maps. I couldn't be here yesterday. I object to maps of CS2 in Wake and Southern Wake. And thanks to our growing population, our state received a 14th district. Locating that new district in counties where population is shrinking smacks of corruption. The new 14th district should include Wake County intact, move Jones and Onslow with their coastal interest to districts 1 and 4 respectively. The expanded Johnston would then be intact with District 3. I support this change because it groups together voters within our rapidly urbanizing triangle with concerns that differentiate us from other rural areas. So I conclude again with, as a resident of North Carolina, in 2010, mathematicians didn't have the formula to be able to evaluate gerrymandering and redistricting. So I object now to the rush to redistricting without an analysis by not only the Princeton Institute, but the second of the nation's most respected nonpartisan team of mathematicians. It's the quantifying gerrymandering team at Duke University. How much cheaper would it be to pay them a small fee, and maybe they would do nothing, to get us fair maps, save ourselves the court expenses? We need their expertise. So I'd like us to get a grade A. North Carolina already ranks so low on the charts nationwide. I think it's time to fight back against our reputation for gerrymandering. We have an A+ right now. All we have to consult the experts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, members, that's the entire list. The chair's going to run back through the no-shows just to see if anybody has shown up, and there are several of them. Yoshi Newman. We have Yoshi Newman. Chair's told we do not. Amy Spears. Do we have Amy Spears? We don't have Amy Spears. Sohini Sengupta. We do not have Sohini Sengupta. Valerie Restrepo. We don't have Valerie Restrepo. Adams D.D. We don't have Adams D.D. Forza Horizon, which again we feel like is probably not a real person, but we have them anyway. We don't. Pam Jones. Pam Jones is not present. Christopher Lakin. Okay, Christopher Lakin is not present. Members, that being the end of our list, and there being no further business before the committee is now adjourned.